gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast juice.net. My name is Michael Dean, and you're listening to the podcast on Prince. We are back. Let me first just say thank you to everyone who took time to listen to our cat interview. That was the last episode. We got a lot of response back on that. And again, we want to thank Kat for coming on and sharing her stories and going deep with us. That was just really a good time. All right. Today, before we get into the topic, let me welcome my man, Big Sexy and Saxer. How are you?
Man, rough week, but it's all good because now it's all about the music. And I wanted to take a quick moment to definitely thank all of our listeners because it amazes me the reach that we are having. We've been contacted by listeners from outside of the country, and just recently my man from way around the way. I like that. I think I write a song about that.
Might be a little late, but go ahead.
My man Marcus, definitely shout out to him, because we got so many new listeners coming in, and it's great meeting everybody. It's a blast. And now we're gonna delve into some good critical music talk, which is always my best part of my day.
All right. And today we got a special guest. I can't remember if he's been on the show before or not. Actually, yes, he has. What am I thinking? But I've known him online for quite a while. Some of you are going to know who this is. He also came up with the topic of today's show. Before we get into that, we have to welcome Mr. Chris Lacey. Sir, how are you?
I'm good. How about you guys, man?
Doing excellent. Thank you.
Doing what we do.
Cool. So believe it or not, this is actually the first time I've ever been on the show, but long time listener. Okay. I know before we hit record, shared a couple moments with you guys that have always stuck with me over the years. Mike, your Bootsy Collins impression from Artificial Age still makes me laugh to this day. Like if that song comes on, like I still hear it in my head of like, like I hear it in my head. And then Big Sexy. I know that the Mila J thing on, it's that, you gotta have to do it for me because I can't do it. You do it much better than I could.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I love that song. Again, there's a story behind that. I want to name names to get killed, but yeah, I had a lady friend back then, and that's what she sounded like.
Oh man. Yep. So
yeah.
So yeah, man, been a long time listener to you guys for a long time. So man, it is a huge privilege to be on the show, man. Thank you guys for inviting me.
For sure. And tell the people you've done some things online of note in terms of music, journalism and stuff. And give us some examples.
Yeah. So about 4 years ago, I was on albumism.com as a contributing writer and wrote several Prince pieces that some of his band members actually promoted on their own. I know that Dewan Elliott posted it on his Twitter, and I know that Eden Nielsen had liked a couple of the posts that I had put up. So and then let's see, I've been doing some recent collaborations with Prince's Friend on YouTube. The most recent one that we did was we did a breakdown of the Artificial Age album. So if there's anyone that has not checked that out yet, I highly recommend you check it out. It's a great conversation with Prince's Friend over there.
Right on. Shout out to Prince's Friend. Love what he does. And joining us straight from South Central, I believe, Mr. Ant Pooh. Sir, how are you? You there?
I am doing good, really well.
You're doing good, really well?
Yes.
Okay.
Good and really well. Come on.
Good and really well.
That's that writing pedigree right there.
Okay.
Tyler Perry, hit me up.
Wow. Here we go.
This guy. Wow. We haven't even got it started yet, and he's already off, man.
Right for the party. He's jumping it off.
And then on top of that, I not only saw Birds of Prey, I saw it a little inebriated. So I think I'm still feeling the after effects.
All right. Well, let's get going here to today's topic. Is what we're going to do is we're going to look at Prince through the decades. But what we're doing is we're going to pick one song. Each person gets to pick one song from each decade. And this is, the only criteria is, what does it mean to you in however fashion you want. So you're not necessarily saying, well, this is the one song that everyone must listen to it. Maybe that is what you're saying, but I mean, for whatever reason you want to pick it is what it is. So we're going to take turns, and we're going to start with the 70s, and each person will say their song and, you know, give a little something about that. So with that said, we're going to start at the 70s. I'm going to let my guest start us off. So Chris, what is your pick?
All right. So for the 70s, if I had to sum up the essence of Prince in one word, it would be rebel. He was on a journey to be the best version of himself from day one, and I feel like we get our first glimpse of that on Soft and Wet. I can't think of any other 20-year-old that was bold enough to write lyrics like this on their first solo single, where he says, hey, lover, I got a sugar cane that I want to lose in you. Baby, can you stand the pain? Like, it makes no sense for him to have this much swagger this soon, yet he does. And that just really set the tone to give him the green light to say whatever he wanted from that day forward.
All right. Soft and Wet. All right. Aunt Pooh. So, do you have a song from the 70s?
Now, I know the right answer should be I Want to Be Your Lover, but I'm going to go against conventional wisdom here. And I'm going to pick the song that, you know what? I'm sorry.
The song I'm Sorry? Which album was that?
I'm sorry.
We'll come back to Ant. He's he got a real life out here. We got kids and stuff.
For sure.
Big Sexy, sir. What about you?
Well, I am going to go with the right answer, which is I Want to Be Your Lover. And that's because when the 70s were going on with Prince, as you know, most of us know, he was given free reign as a young man to do this. No outside producer, no overseeing by the label for once. And then they came to him on the second album and said, this is good, but we need a hit. He's like, I got you. He walks back in the studio, cranks out I Want to Be Your Lover. That is the birth of a genius. And we're all seeing it happen. Again, the album was done. And the label's like, we need a single. We need a hit here. He's like, all right. Walks back in and pulls this one out of the pocket. That put the world on notice that he is more than a possible flash in the pan. He's not going to be Soft and Wet and then back to obscurity. He's like, no, I can do a little better. And he did it. So we put everybody on notice that I write, I play, I produce, get ready.
Okay, I want to be. I think that would be. You say the right answer. I would say that'd be definitely an obvious sort of answer. But I mean, that song is just classic. It's probably like the one song anybody would know from the time period. If they weren't like even a super fan. Oh yeah, well, I Want to Be Your Lover. Yeah. So I can definitely respect that. Ampu, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
I'll do it again. Like you said, the obvious answer is I Want to Be Your Lover. However, I'm going to go to the For You album, and the very last track on the album, I'm Yours. I discovered this track, I want to say 3 to 4 years ago, and it blew my freaking mind. I mean, you got all the quintessential Prince. You got the guitar, you got a banging drum beat, you got the bass, and then you got that guitar. I mean, come on. You got everything there. And then he ain't even sang yet. You got this one part here. I'll give you what you want, but please love me now. I'll do anything you want. You're the teacher. Show me how. Now, we know that Prince likes to play with the male, female, perspective in his songs. So you could take that either way. And I just think that just overall, it's a great song. And then like once you get out of the lyrics, he just goes for 3 or 4 minutes of just funk and musicality that, in 1979, we should have I was only 2, so I got an excuse. We should have all known this dude was going to be the man.
Wow. So that was actually going to be my pick last night when I was thinking about it. Because I agree with everything you said, man. Like that, I believe that song does encapsulate a lot. Everything we sort of go to see from him later and is on that first album. And it's a remarkable song. So yeah, feel you. You was going to say something, Chris, I think.
No. I think Ampu nailed it, man. And I appreciate him going against the grain. That's probably one of the things I really appreciate about his perspective on any episode that he's ever been on, is that when you think he's going to go one way, he goes the opposite way. So salute to you for that, man.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Well, I cleaned that up at the end because I was like, you can go. That comic could go one way. I'm just trying to throw shit.
I was like, what? I'm like, oh, okay. I was about to be like, oh, who let this fool in the house?
Now, see, this may make sense to our hardcore listeners, but after the last podcast we recorded, I think the iron is still a little. Any little something slick meter is probably still peaking a little bit. What he
nah.
Okay. Anyway, let me get focused.
Nah, I was just like, yeah, I don't mind going against the grain. Nope, not at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, so my pick for the 70s, like I said, I am so close to picking I'm Yours, and I was talking to somebody about it too, and they were like, that's the song. But I got to go with what I feel, and for me, it's a little ditty called "Crazy You" from the For You album, 1978.
Love that song.
This is, it's sort of like acoustic type of thing, but to me, I was like, what song do I always just go back to no matter what? Like, and that's the song. Like, from the first moment I heard it, loved it. For me, it's just the feeling that I get from it in his voice, the crispness, like, of the guitar. I was like, damn, this shit is just ill. It's just something. It's just that sound about it and the way it makes me feel. I'm just like, that's some Prince shit. Like, and I heard this album. When I first heard this album, it was, Purple Rain was in its heyday. So I was kind of going backwards, and I heard this and I was like, damn, he had this back. Like, I like this even better than, so it's just one of those songs that, to me, it's almost timeless. Like, it's not necessarily dated in the instrumentation to me. It's just guitar. I guess it's a little keyboard, but it's just his voice and just the way he sings, that falsetto and just the soul of it, like that. I'm not even gonna play myself, but that.
Yeah.
That shit is like, this is so lush to me. Like, so I have to pick. For me, if I just think of Prince, the 70s, I would go with "Crazy You." It may not be the one that, but I just think it's a timeless type of song.
No, that's a great pick, man. For all the reasons that you stated, and I'm like you, like, I love that unplugged kind of vibe about it, because you could strip away all the superstardom and you just set that man in front of a mic with a guitar, and then he'll come out with something like that.
Yeah,
that's the magic of Prince.
Later years we get sort of the more here's a piano album, or here's the acoustic album and things like that. But I can imagine if he would have did an album like that back then, if he just, Prince, wouldn't just have you come out just straight acoustic soul or something. He would have nailed it. He had the skills back then. But anyway,
if he had put that in the acoustic set during musicology tour, he'd have shut it down.
Man. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the 70s was not. It was hard, but you had two albums to choose from. So
80s is hard.
The 80s. This is very tough because, again, we're trying to pick one song from this whole decade, and this decade is so. First of all, there's an album for almost every year, and these albums are ridiculous.
Yeah,
man. So this was a tough one. So, man, I'm gonna start with Big Sexy first, and I know it's hard, but just give us that one song, man, for the 80s.
All right, I'm going to go way left of center on this one. The 70s were the introduction to the genius. 80s were superstardom. He had a run from 82 to 88 unparalleled. And the thing is, out of all of the hits and critically acclaimed music he put out in the 80s, which is not easy to do, I'm going to go with Manic Monday because at the time he did it.
Wow.
I hear you giggling over there, Anthony.
No. I'm no. That's not. I'm not shitting on your pick at all. I'm just like wow.
Yeah, that was definitely left to center, man, for sure. But go ahead. I'm curious.
The reason I went with this is because while you're the superstar and you're putting out arguably your greatest era of music, you take a step back and say, you know what? I can do this for other people too. So he has Vanity 6, he has The Time, he comes up with Kenny Rogers, and he comes up with Sheena Easton, and then he drops this one for the Bangles. And the only reason this song didn't go number one, Kiss was number one. Bangles was number two. Now, I know a lot of artists, not a lot, but a handful of artists have actually had two songs atop the Hot 100 at the same time. Michael did it, the Beatles did it, but has anyone done it for two different, groups or two different artists, the same writer? I don't know about that. But when you look at it, back then in 86, number one, Kiss, number two, Manic Monday. Oh yeah, he wrote them both. And that again shows his versatility and creativity and not being caught up in the whole vortex of superstardom, but still putting out great music. That's what out of all the 80s, that's the one that represents him in that period to me.
Wow, that's fascinating. I would have never picked that, but that's man. Okay, Manic Monday, Bangles, and now that was originally for Apollonia 6.
Apollonia 6, yeah.
Right. Yeah, interesting. All right, the 80s, Manic Monday, Big Sexy. Next up, Mr. Ant Poo.
I'm gonna say this with love. Fuck you, Mike. Because this is just too goddamn hard to pick one song from the 80s. Because then there's so many masters to serve. There's the hits, there's the deep catalog cuts. Then you got the Facebook Purple Army people. Then you got the hardcore housequake. So when you make this pick, I'm like, oh shit, I can't fuck up. So yeah, I'm saying fuck you, Mike. Because why are you putting this on me?
This is I blame Chris.
Yeah, it was actually my idea. So if you want to send the FU my way, that's cool.
There you go.
I don't know you just yet. You might be swatter, so I don't know. I'll keep that back. So I'm going to just go with me and what I'm feeling and what I think people should hear. And for me, it is the lyrics. It is one of the greatest. Maybe the second greatest, but one of the greatest drum programming he's ever done.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ballad of Dorothy Parker.
There you go.
That I can't believe it because I've heard it on Sign of the Times a number of times. I can't believe I'm making a Sign of the Times pick, but if you, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. God damn it. Yes, that's the one. I listened to it really hard, I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago. And I actually played it out, I want to say over 3 days, playing it back to back to back to back, just listening to the story he was telling, trying to understand what he was saying, trying to really decipher everything, the quiet, talking about going to the quiet room, talking about taking a bath with his clothes on to really de-escalate those situations. The flirting, the line where he said, I'm gonna get killed for that, whatever. Pants were wet, but they didn't come off because she hadn't read the book. She didn't get to see the movie because she hadn't read the book first. I was like, that right there can be deconstructed in a class, just that line alone. And he has so much in it. And then it's like, to me, the sparseness of the song, but then he has probably one of the most complicated drum beats ever. That to me is just masterful. And the sad part of, you can call it sad. I'm gonna say sad. The sad part about it is it wasn't released as a single. So the genius of that song is only appreciated within a certain set of people that really listen to the song. So that one right there, I would not be mad at people covering it because it's a beautiful song and it's a really well put together song at that.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Prince songs ever. So I can't be mad at that. No way. That again, just I co-sign everything you said. To me, that song is just one of those genius type songs of Prince. Like, it's incredibly funky. I can hear, the Sly Stone sort of, thing through it, but it's Prince's interpretation, and he puts his own unique stamp on it. And then just in terms of the time that it came out and like everything he had already done at that point. And I remember when I first heard that, I was just like, this dude is really like super creative. Like, who would have thought to make it sound like that and to sing it like that? And just last thing I remember the album, I went over to my grandmother's house and my dad was there. He was living at the time, and he had the Sign of the Times cassette. It was sitting out. And I was like, is this yours? And he was like, yeah. And I remember he wasn't a super fan of Prince or nothing like that, but he was a big music guy. And I knew if he liked something, I knew it was some real shit. He was just like, and I was a fan of Prince fan at the time, but I was shocked that he had it. He was like, yeah, this is his shit right here. He came back with this one. I was like, okay. I was like, and I remember he mentioned the song. Like, yeah, that song right there. I don't know about the other shit, but this right here. So yeah, that's one of Prince's stealers for sure. All right. And you got me thinking about this song. Chris.
All right. I'm kind of torn right now on what song I want to go with because I have my notes in front of me. So like I know what I want to say, but Big Sexy had made a comment earlier saying that Prince had a run from 82 to 88 that was unparalleled. And I feel some kind of way because he left out 89 because I'm a Batman guy. So I'm tempted to pick a song from that album that still fits the category I'm going for. Because in the 80s, like Prince's imagination was out of this world. Like nobody else was even on the same wavelength as this cat. So I'm gonna call an audible here. I am gonna go with something off of Batman. I have no notes, so if I stumble through my explanation, just forgive me a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Vicky Waiting instead of If I Was Your Girlfriend. Woo. Yeah. So Vicky Waiting, to me, like musically, it floats into that psychedelicness of Around the World in a Day. But what I love is his songwriting approach and talking about how Bruce Wayne, like he understands that he's a crime fighter, but he also wants to be this family man because he knows that Vicky is romantically interested in him. And there's in the third verse, he says, talk of children still frightens me. Is my character enough to be one that deserves a copy made? This I one day hope to see. And that lyric cuts me to the core every time because Prince, who tragically died alone and without a child, wanted the same things as everyone else, so like that lyric, it just hits different now than it did when I first heard it. So that I'll go with that pick. I'll go with Vicky Waiting for the 80s because again, like his ability to be able to kind of talk about himself inadvertently, but still talk about Bruce Wayne Batman through that soundtrack, to me, like that's what separated him from everybody else.
I'm sorry, your name is Chris, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna send the FU your way because after you said the part about him dying alone, I started tearing up. Man,
I'm sorry, bro.
Man, how you gonna do that?
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, man. It's all good. I can definitely handle the FU. I'll take that with love, man. It's all good.
Man, bravo. That
was deep. That was really deep.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you make me remember, man. I mean, I never forget, but that song actually reminds me of a song I'm going to pick later on. And I hope I remember. Cool. All right. So my pick of the 80s, for me, again, I just have to go with what I feel. And so that song for me, is I still play it to this day, and it has been recently re-released. And you can hear it even better, is Lady Cab Driver. I think for me, in my mind, instinctively, what I think of Prince, there's certain sounds and instruments and things. And Lady Cab Driver is everything that I think of Prince from this period. I hear the time, I hear, what I call classic Prince, the guitar scratch, the way he does his vocals, the slickness of it, the storytelling of it. This song is sort of like the original sort of song that we see him do later on, like a Crystal Ball. It's a sort of very epic, cinematic type of funk thing that takes you on a journey. Like you kind of start here, and then it gets to this crescendo, this extended jam breakdown, and really just getting deep musically, but still funky as hell, and then relaxes you in back to it, and then brings it back at the end where, goes back into the chorus of the song. And you see him do, Never Take the Place of Your Man, Crystal Ball, some of these songs where he just really takes it. Another song that I'm going to mention later. And this was like the first one, but it was just in that real, just that chicken scratch funk. He's playing the drum snares over the Lynn drum. It's just all in the pocket. And the fact that it's just really one guy doing all that. And of course, you got Jill Jones. It's got the profane, the part about Prince is make you, like, what the hell is he talking? This is for the women. It's just everything. It's like it's something nobody else would think to do. And I think that song still plays today. It's the jam. It doesn't never not be the shit. So my pick for the 80s is Little Ray. Little Ray. Lady Cab Driver.
That's a dope pick, man. That's a dope pick.
All right. So that's the 80s. So we did, let's recap. I did Little Red Corvette. We had Vicky Waiting, Manic Monday, and tip my tongue.
The Ballad of Dorothy Parker.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
That's a hell of a play. That's a little playlist right there.
For sure. For sure.
Okay. The 90s. And, this is always the thing. Well, I don't know if it's so much the 90s anymore. I remember it used to be, it was a lot of highly contested. Oh, it was the 80s versus the 90s. Now I think I see more of like 2000s versus everything. But it was definitely a shift. At least it felt like a shift. Now listening back, sometimes I question, but there was definitely the music for some people changed, or there was a different sound or different approaches to certain things. So the 90s is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of albums in this period as well. A lot. So we'll go with Aunt Pooh first, man. What is your pick for the 90s?
I was narrowing it down to 3, and now you're going to put me on the spot. Now, I want to go with the song off Graffiti Bridge that I think is very masterful, but I'm going to take it to the Gold Experience. So it's story time. Everybody gather around. The year was 2003. I had just been dumped, and she cheated on me. And as I was heading to work, going through my, this is a CD player, kids. Back in the day, you actually had to take a CD player and hook it up to your cassette and put that into your cassette player. Yeah.
Oh man.
And I was an early adapter and got the MP3. So I had that going. So I'm going through, and I cycled through this song, and it spoke to me. Here's the lyrics first. I never thought that you would be the one. After all the things that we've been through, you gave your body to another in the name of fun. I hope you had some, baby. If not, boo-hoo. This song helped me get through that breakup. Because I realized, yes, it did. And it spoke to me.
You can still hear me. You can still hear it in my man's voice. Like it still feels some kind of way. Whatever.
But when I first heard the song in 96, I think it was John Lennon and the House Party out here at 92.3 The Beat. I was like, yeah. But as you mature and you go through some stuff and then you come back, it's amazing how that happens with Prince with me. And you go back and you hear it, you like, this mug is talking to me. And it's just, to me, it's just a deep song. He's getting through that and he's being vulnerable and letting you know that, yeah, you can still love her, but you can hate what she did. You might be able to hate the person, but you can love the experiences that you had. And then on top of that, the music, because of course, after he's done singing the chorus and screaming, taking an interlude spot where he's taking her to court. If you've seen the video, the MPG being the jury, no, I think Michael Bland was the judge. I didn't have the MPG as the jury. It was hilarious. And then to tune out because he wants to let you know how pissed off he is, but he's going to rock through it and power through it with that guitar solo. I'm picking this one.
All right. I Hate You.
Wow.
And that's the one directed to Carmen Electra.
Mm.
All right.
Wait, we have to say allegedly. We have to say allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly.
Not in court. All right, allegedly. We don't want to get sued or something like that.
Yeah, we got to keep that same energy that we had for certain other people, right?
Hilarious. Okay. Okay, Gail. I was on my Gail. Sorry about this.
Sorry, y'all. I wasn't going to say that's why I said sir. I didn't want to bring that energy here.
Not Gail King. Oh, no.
I see Big Sexy. We're going to do a video. Mike is not feeling good right now. Backlash. Stop. All right. Big Sexy. The 90s, sir. What say you?
All right, let's roll into the 90s. As we've already established, 70s was the birth of the genius. 80s was superstardom. 90s, rebel, war with the label. It all went sideways. After the success of Diamonds and Pearls, he had a new contract, $100 million, thought he was rolling until he read the small print. They put some handcuffs on him. And then in the midst of the battles with the label, Prince says, look, let me do one on my own, and you guys have nothing to do with it. And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And that song happened to be The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. Boom. Another massive hit. Against all odds, against his label, against conventional wisdom. He was getting heat for changing his name, and he pulls this out to let you know that in the midst of war, I still am that guy. And that to me is a timeless song, is a personal song. And as much as I enjoy the stories that Kevin Smith has shared about Prince, I'm glad Prince didn't let him use it. Because Kevin went to him and said, can I put this in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? He's like, no, you can't have it. And that was that, because that song was very personal to him and Maite at the time when they were together. And I haven't heard it since they broke up. I mean, let me phrase it. I've heard it perform after they broke up. And that says a lot. But to me, the 90s was about all of that chaos, all about the whole Tora thing. And this just stands out of all of that shit. You know, all the war, all the label drama, and he pulls this one out on his own, no label help, and he does it himself. And it blows up, and you got to respect that.
All right. All right. So next up, I will go here. My pick for the 90s. Again, I just going back to songs that I still play to this day and just sit with me. So Love to the Nines. 1992. This is the Symbol album. And here's why I picked this song. One, this song was this album, maybe even the last album, but this period was definitely a turning point for me in terms of like with hip hop and Prince, and you know hip hop coming in so strong. And the beauty to me as a Prince listener, and I'm saying this as a person who was in hip hop at the time, heavy, actually, making music. I like that. His stuff seemed so separate from it to me. Like his stuff was separate from everything. And that's one of the things I loved about his music. His sound was like nobody else. People can try to sound like this, but his shit don't sound like nobody else. I could hear his song or him playing on something, I would just know immediately, like, that's Prince. Like, I just know it. But I saw that as time was going on, he was starting to open himself up and incorporate that influence of hip hop into his music. And at first I didn't really like it because I didn't think, just the way it sounded to me, I was like, it didn't seem authentic enough to the sound of hip hop. And there was something different. And I was like, that's not Prince. I want to hear that Prince sound. And maybe it wasn't until like Get Off where I really was like, okay, he captured that production style and it sounds organic, blah, blah, blah. But with this song, to me, it encapsulates both of those styles perfectly well without it. And it still sounds like Prince. Like when I first heard this come on the album, I was like, oh my God, like this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for him to go to this sound here. It has that band sound to it, but it's distinctively that Prince feel to me. The same feel I get from Crazy You, and in his voice, his falsetto. I was like, oh, this is great. And then it gets to a point where it seems like the hip hop and the rap is just, we're here. And a lot of people, man, I don't want to hear the song after this certain part. But over time, man, I feel like you just can't deny like that music and Tony M and all of that stuff in it. I can't never hear the song without that now. I think it's dope the way it sounds now at where I'm at in life now, listening to it and Tony's voice. And I don't know if that's Carmen, whoever the other lady that he's going back and forth with. Prince, again, it reminds me of Lady Cab Driver because it starts with just a simple kind of, and then it becomes this whole big bombast, and it's taking you off of this musical journey. And then it comes back, even Prince starts rapping and stuff, but it comes back and to me, this song has the greatest Prince ending ever. He just starts singing and harmonizing, and it just basically breaks it down to the core. It's just, it's ridiculous. I want to read the part again. There's the rhythms that he has in this song are also exceptionally well to me. Just the way he's saying when they go, don't use that magical, mysterious, intoxicating, joy, fantastic, fascinating word called love, unless you love me to the nines. This is the only kind of love that I've been dreaming for, the kind of love that takes away your body, mind, and soul. Love to the nines. You already know. Like, it just gets me hyped. He was on one so heavy with this track, man. I implore you to go back and listen to this. It's a fascinating, intoxicating song. So that's my pick.
Wow. Gosh, man, I hate having to go last because all of you guys have y'all's picks are super dope, man. And Aunt Pooh, I thought you started to go with my pick because you said you started out with Graffiti Bridge and switched over to the Gold Experience because those were the two albums that I was kind of shuffling through. I almost went with Join Repetition, but technically in my mind, it's an 86 track. So I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. So I ended up going with, so for the 90s, all of us know, Prince was the most skilled musician on the planet. Like he didn't have one skill that far outweighed the other. But out of all the instruments that he mastered, he knew how to make his guitar speak a magical language, which is why Shush is my pick for the 90s. He gives that song the power to dim lights and ignite candles on their own accord because his guitar sounds like lava coming out of a volcano. But I love how each guitar lick is memorable and it serves a purpose. Like he doesn't, to quote Prince, he doesn't spoil the flow. Like he's not trying to overdo it. Like he picks and chooses his spots the right way. And dare I say that Shush is the reason why a bunch of babies were probably born 9 months after the Gold Experience dropped. So a lot of folks owe their lives to Prince, so they better put some respect on their daddy's name. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, is there a particular version of this song that you like?
Um, I will have to go with Prince's version over Tevin Campbell's version, just because that was the first one that I heard. Not that Tevin's version is terrible. I mean, I love it. I just think that because Prince's version was the first one I heard, like that to me is the definitive one.
Was it the album version?
Yeah, it was the album version that I had heard first. But then I want to say like the next version that I had heard was there was a clip for the musicology tour where he performed it live, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like he could not go wrong with that song in the studio, live, wherever. But I want to say, what wasn't there? What's the name of the video that he did with Nona Gay? Yes, the Beautiful Experience.
That's my version of the song. That's the first version.
I may want to renege on what I just said. I'll probably go with the Beautiful Experience version, like because that one is just that's, to use your word, that's a head buster for sure.
Yeah, man. That's the first time I heard that song, and when he does that guitar solo, I was done. I was like, this dude. I thought that was the new moment. Like, a lot of people, Purple Rain was a big moment in the movie, and it goes to sort of be a signature thing. When I heard that, I thought like, yo, this is the new moment. Like that. It's just it's just when he drops that and but yeah, man, that song's crazy.
I'm not trying to be combative, but if I can put in another contender. For me, I could be wrong. The Beautiful Experience, is that the tape version with him in that weird white onesie with Sunny T in the background hitting them bass?
Huh?
Is that you're talking about Shush Live, the Beautiful Experience one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, is that the one you guys are talking about? Because for me, that was the definitive version until I saw the 2004 performance at the Staples Center with, God rest his soul, John Blackwell putting on a clinic on them drums. And ever since then, that's the one that I rock with more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. In the 90s, I mean, there's so many awesome, ridiculous. I mean, you have Emancipation, shit for me. I think New Power Soul is in here. The Gold Experience. I mean, the Undertaker. There's just so much in this period. The MPG albums, Exodus. So it's a lot. It's a hard one to do. All right, let's move forward. 2000. Again, there's quite a bit of work here, and I'm just gonna go first. Let's get mine out of the way quickly. For me, my pick for 2000. Was Future Baby Mama.
Okay.
I know the song through and through, and I was going through a lot of these albums during the week, and I just reminded myself, I was like, this song, it's almost like it ain't supposed to be. So I think the title of the song sort of throws me off a little bit, but to me, I listened to it, I was like, this song, I wouldn't be shocked if the song was an older song, kind of, but it's so soulful to me again. What he's talking, this is like, at this point to me, Prince was such a heavy Mac and just lyrically a ladies' man. And let me go back to the 90s. His songwriting in the 90s was so superior, in my opinion, into another level. His wordplay was just so slick. And here he's mastered the shit to me. I love the drum programming on this. He's sort of trying to incorporate the drum sound, going back to that. But I just think that this is such a R&B. It's like, let me show you some R&B. And it's like, after everything he's already done in his career, he can still just bring it back home. And like, to me, this song still works today. Like, you don't hear shit like this anymore. Even from this period, you don't even hear nothing like this. And I fall in love with his voice. His harmonies on here are ridiculous. So Future Baby Mama, I ain't got no problem saying if I had no other song to listen to from that era, I still listen to this, and I think this song is incredible. And Prince is a macking ass. Nah. So that's all. That's my pick. We're gonna go to Big Sexy.
All right. 90s was all about rebelliousness and fighting with the labels. 2000s, he's the elder statesman. This is his 4th decade of doing this, which is amazing. He comes out in February, actually late January of 04, steals the Grammys right out of everybody's hands. Him and Beyonce lit the building up. No one caught up to it. He let them all know, yeah, I'm still that guy. Musically, he had the big tour, Musicology. And on that album is a song, Call My Name. Just like Mike said, this was a return to R&B. This was a return to true soul music. That song is a perfect song. Every time I see it or hear it, I stop what I'm doing. Because it's a great song, and it really wraps up what he was about, as the elder statesman, not trying to compete, just saying, look, I've already carved out my area. You guys watch me and learn how to do it. And that's what he's doing here in this song. It's a magnificent song. Everything about it, the video, the production of it. He brought back some old friends for it. He had Michael Bland in that one, along with Candy. Great performance all the way around.
All righty. And Pooh.
Mark, why you do this to me? You took my song.
I'm sorry, brother.
But me, I always have a contingency plan. So I'm going to go to the year is 2007. And there's this new album that comes out with Prince with his back to the wall and everything. I've already seen the Black Sweat video. So I'm like, all right, he's coming with something. This is kind of playful. The lyrics are ridiculous, and you can clearly see he has a musicianship. But when you ain't putting the needle to the vinyl, when you put the CD in and press play, that opening, boom, and you hear Michael Bland just hammering the fuck out of them drugs. I forgot what he says. I'm sorry, I'm showing. One mix. And then ha. Oh my God. That was just masterful. I know you guys are talking about his lyrics, and he felt like his songwriting, he got to like his master era. But that right there was just, that whole song 3121 was just amazing. I don't care about the lyrics. Forget the lyrics, because it's just not about the lyrics. It is about that song, that jam session. He got the MPG in the studio with him, and they put out a banger. Just the breakdown when you hearing the horns with that the guitar with that bass, it was just an amazing musical composition. And it just let me know that Prince is a bad mofo. And when he decides to let people in that studio with him, how he can turn out magic. So I wish that album got more love. I wish that song was a single, because that was just an amazing piece.
All right. And that was 3121, right?
Yes, it was.
3121. All right, Chris.
All right. So my pick for the 2000s, again, kind of thinking of where he was in his career at that time. So we're given the Rainbow Children. He's had this conversion, becoming a Jehovah's Witness, and it leads a lot of people to think that he's lost his edge. So my pick for the 2000s comes from what I believe is his best album from that decade. It comes from Lotus Flower, and it's called Colonized Mind. I love this song because it's cut from the same cloth as Sign of the Times and Money Don't Matter Tonight. He is talking about, evolution. He's talking about racism. He's talking about the political system. But the final lyric right before he goes into the chorus, he says, upload a child with no father, download no respect for authority, upload a child with no mother, download a hard time showing love. Like, that lyric right there shows you that this cat is not afraid to just call it like it is and tackle controversial topics, because that is a problem that's within the Black community, is the breakdown of the family. So if a child does not have both sets of parents, to me, that's what creates a lot of confusion for that child. And then they'll start going to other influences in their life to just trying to make sense of stuff, and usually it doesn't end well. So yeah, man, like, and to see him reunite with Michael B, Sonny T, it's just like, he to me, he crushes it. Like, that is the Sign of the Times or Money Don't Matter Tonight of the 2000s. And it's a shame that Lotus Flower doesn't get as much love as, Musicology or 3121 or even Rainbow Children among the hardcore Prince fans.
That's a deep song, man. What you just said about them lyrics.
Okay, I'm grossly derelict in my Prince fandom, as that's not been a song that I've dug into and really paid attention to. So I absolutely will. But I kind of want to challenge you just a little bit, because you said Sign of the Times, Money Don't Matter. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. You forgot one. Dear Mr. Man. I thought that was a successor.
I dig that song. I don't know if I could put it up there with Sign of the Times and Money Don't Matter Tonight. To me, that's like rare air. That's rare air. Like, you really got to bring your A game. And to me, with Colonized Mind, like, he brought his A game and then some. So if anyone thought that he lost his edge and that his that the tip of his pen got dull, he woke him up with that one.
Okay, sure. Okay, I respect that.
But I dig Mr. Man, though. I really do. It's got that it almost feels like something you would expect from Marvin Gaye from like What's Going On era. So like, the early to mid 70s, like, he's not afraid to, address what's going on in the world, so by no means am I like trying to, sneeze at that song, man. Like, that's a really good pick, though. It's a great song. It's a great song.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. I know somebody can hit me in the comments. It's the groove of it is based off of a James Brown song. I just can't remember
which one.
Mr. Man.
Dear Mr. Man. I'm trying to remember which one it is too, and it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember what it was, but you're right though. I believe it does sample James Brown, especially that horn lick. That
it's that boom. It's like a later James too. I just can't. Anyway, somebody will find it. But yeah, that's a dope song. All right, man. So 2000. Well, let me ask this: so in 2000s, though, like, is it safe to say Prince? In my opinion, I feel like in the 2000s and even going forward, Prince gets way more. I don't want to say political, but definitely speaks more on race and different issues in a more straightforward way, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say that there was an interview that he did with Tavis Smiley. It was right around Lotus Flower era, where he had been spending a lot of time with Dick Gregory. And I agree with you. I think that he did. He was more outspoken about stuff that mattered to him. And it was just like, hey, it is what it is. You can like it, don't like it. I really don't give a rip what you think. I'm just going to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
That comes with being, an elder statesman in any field. People look to you for that wisdom, and he was starting to share it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick anything from this album. I don't think anybody did, but yeah, again, that's why I look at something like the Rainbow Children. For me, that's an album where I was just like, to me, really stood up and said, this is what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, y'all don't, and it is what it is. It's like, yeah, this whop. Don't let it get. That was like his "Don't let it get twisted." Now, like,
yeah,
I stand on this. Don't let the fruffle shirts and the high heel boots get you.
For sure.
So, hey, Mike. So I went into the org, and the topic said Prince "Dear Mr. Man" borrows heavily from James Brown's "People Get Up and Drive Your Funky Soul."
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yes, that is it.
I guess I need to go search that.
That song is filthy too when you hear it. Yep.
Yeah.
That song's. Hey, let me stop. There's just some. I have to say. I mean, there'd be some. I don't know, some of our listeners, you may have heard some of the more famous James Brown. But if you younger listeners, if you really go check out some James shit, you're gonna have your mind blown, because that's just timeless, funky shit. Like, and you'll be like, oh, this is what that song I like is based on, or oh, they was doing this, or oh, I mean, it's just that's they're supposed to, and it probably is. They need to be the James Brown podcast because, and I am definitely not the knowledge to that, but yeah, that music is ridiculous.
So I just put the song on and I'm like, yep, I totally hear that. But don't, yeah. But also the beginning of the song where it goes dun 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 dun. I'm like, that's a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. That's a good pickup.
There's some other hip hop and R&B songs that have sampled that literally that whole little horn thing. But yeah, I mean James, man, treasure trove.
And
so in other
one
words,
last
he
thing.
was never gonna be broke.
No, he wasn't. Since we're on the topic of James Brown, real quick, I pointed this out to my mom not too long ago. One of her all-time favorite songs is "That's the Way Love Goes" by Janet Jackson, and she did not know that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis sampled "Papa Don't Take No Mess" for that song. He was like, "Bum bum bum bum." That's the foundation for "That's the Way Love Goes," and you can hear it in the chorus. And I played both songs for her. She's like, "Chris, how on earth did you hear that?" But I'm like, but like you said, like you can hear certain snippets. You're like, I know I've heard that somewhere. Where have I heard it? And then you'll come across the original song, and be like, that's it. That's where it came from.
Yeah. All right. So 2000s. Now we're jumping to 2010. I don't know I forget what they call that. What's 2010? I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I've always heard it. It's just the 2010s.
That's why I kind of show my age. I'd be like, it's all 2000s to me, but because we always thought that by the time in 2000s it's going to be on some heavy futuristic type shit from all these movies, but it's the same shit. And now it's literally 2020. I'm like, where the fuck is I was expecting two things. I was expecting it was going to be flying cars, Blade Runner, or it was going to be, or it was going
Back to the Future,
Toxic Avenger Wasteland World or some shit like that. But we on the same shit. So,
what's worse is
we're wrong.
Yeah. What's worse is we're kind of taking a step backwards, man. We got kids eating Tide Pods. We don't even have flying cars yet. So.
I'm sorry, I don't want to go there, but as bad as people are driving cars on roads, I don't want them in the air.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, back then I just thought it would make logical sense, but now, of course, that would be a complete disaster. I don't know how you have any order in the air.
Nah.
Can you imagine the type of drive-by shootings going down?
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, it would be a complete disaster.
Bear left.
But anyway, so 2010, we're here at another era of Prince, and this is, I guess in one way, it is the last era of albums when he was alive. Let's say it that way. Obviously, there's been newer albums, and I'm sure there's going to be album releases of this year. But I'll just pick one song. This song, I picked this song because when I first heard it, I was surprised of the funkiness of it and like just the sound of it, because this is a newer era to me. I would not be shocked again if this song actually dates back to some other period and just sort of dusts it off. But the song that I always play is one of my favorites of all time, Sticky Like Glue. I just, to me, it's a return to, again, it's the drum machine, Prince bass and guitar, and it's just funky. Like the rhythm and the way he sings the song. To me, the song, what makes a song to me is this here. Is it, I'm sorry. And that's the way he sings lyrics. Inside me, and then he just come in there. I was like, I heard that. I was like, this he clowning with it. It's just that tight, smooth type, just like, man, he's still got that sound. And then it's just that old school. It reminds me of Cab Driver and just the way that he's playing the guitar. It's just those funky licks. that I always think about Prince. I just always think he's got the illest licks. Like, to me, again, his sound is that chicken scratching, the way that he do it and get the jamming on it. You know, he's just like, he be groving with the shit. And this, to me, just, it has that same feel, the background vocals and the harmonies when you listen to it with headphones, and he's, bah, da, and the girls come in, ooh, 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 you know, stick it like glue. You can hear Shelby in there. It's just a dope ass track to me that, again, it's just a timeless type of song. It's not the biggest, like, you know, you hear all this and that, but it's just, again, to me, I always feel like his R&B soul music, to me, he just does that. To me, everything else he has learned and mastered, but I always feel like if you just stripped him away, he would just be a soulful dude. The way he sings the shit, he sings it soulfully. He always has that gut busting when he really be feeling it, and you know, all that. That's just that soul from his soulfulness that just so embedded in Prince, man. But he just does it in such a unique way. So, Sticky Like Glue, 2010, the album 2010. To me, this album is majorly slept on, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think it is one of his best works, but that's my pick for 2010. Big Sexy and Sad.
All right. Excuse me. This one was difficult because there was so much going on. I was leaning towards Rock and Roll Love Affair for the same reason. I'm going to go ahead and pick. And again, I'm going outside of the box. I'm picking the Plectrum Electrum album, the whole album. Why? Because
we're gonna slide a whole album in here.
Say, pick one song.
Throwing a whole album in there.
Break the whole thing.
Okay. Mark, this isn't Love Sexy. It's not one whole track. No,
stop. Let me make my argument. Let me make my argument.
Go ahead.
In 2000s, we have The Elder Statesman. In the 2010s, we have The Teacher now. And if you look at what he was doing that whole time, this is the first time Prince allowed anyone to produce him. So he's turning the keys over to...
Well...
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Have I missed something?
Well, of course you have... I don't know how publicized it is, but Emancipation is essentially Prince and Kirk doing a lot of the production on a lot of those songs. Like, he had other people producing the shit.
Yeah, but it wasn't quite the same. I mean, not the output, but it wasn't really talked about. I didn't know that until you just told me.
That's fair.
You know, and with Mr. Jordan, you let him do his thing. He also had Andy Allo running around teaching her. Now, I've heard there's more to it than that. I don't want to get into that. But he's teaching her. He has the Third Eye Girl group. He's teaching them. And as we all know, this album also introduces Miss Lizzo to the world.
That's
so
right.
He's taking these young people and showing them, look, this is what I've done. This is what I'm about. Let me teach you what I have. There's one song that's not on this album that I was also thought about going with, Revelation, the long version. He let my man, I forget his name, tear that sax solo up. And it wasn't Eric Leeds and it wasn't Eddie Minifield. It was somebody else. Gave him a shot. Mono Neon gave him a shot. He's letting all these new people, you know, learn from him and be around him, and he's giving back. And that's really a big part of the tragedy of the loss, because he was giving it all back to people who've come up behind him and teaching them what he learned in this business. And you can't ask for more than that.
But I will ask you to give us one song.
You're gonna make me do a song. You ain't shit. Okay, fine. I'll give you one song off this album. Whitecaps. Because when I hear that song, it makes me cry. Shut up.
What?
No. Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good.
All right. Whitecaps it is, Plectrum Electrum. And that was, what year was that?
That was 2014.
That was 14.
2014,
yeah.
Man. Okay. All
right.
Know,
if you add an E to that, it turns it into a whole nother meaning.
Here you go.
Got it.
I got it. Yes.
I was late. I was late today.
Yeah, me too.
Hilarious.
It took me a second.
The funny thing is, I could see Prince writing a song like that. That's a good one. Ampu, go ahead.
It's kind of hard, but I'm going to go with this one because the lyrics is great, even though it's a sample. It's from the Artificial Age album. And Prince, he decides, I'm going to take it back to my 90s root, and I'm going to give y'all my flow, my rap flow. And I can't do the man justice, but I'm going to try to do this. Excuse me.
Oh, here we go.
For the record, let me state that I never had a reason to break contractual endeavors or sever relationships with anyone. Pleasure. Y'all know that was crap, whatever. But I tried.
I appreciate the effort.
The man's a genius. I'm like, he sampled this. I wish I want to give the young lady her props. Unfortunately, I didn't do the Googles to get who the sample was from. But he sampled her song. Thank you. He sampled her song and put a twist on it and made it his own. And then he updated with this lyrics and that flow. I'm like, whoever produced that instrumental, you brilliant. And the fact that Prince took it with very few tweaks to it, you should feel honored by that. That he thought so much of your musical composition to change it slightly. And then write some really great, clever, sexual, sensual, playful lyrics on that. And then on top of that, he is throwing some game. He's on his, what I would like to say, his midnight, because we joked about this. I said that Artificial Age was Prince doing a 90s R&B album. Well, on this song, he decided he was going to be LL Cool J from the 90s, where he's macking on, because you all know, most of his songs, he was macking on somebody else's girl. Mm-hmm. You know how much I want you. You know how much I care. When he gone, you know I'm going to flaunt you. You know. So he's just letting you know that, okay, that ain't your real man, and we gonna be together. I'm gonna have you. He not gonna last. And he did that with If I Was the Man of Your Life, and he definitely do this here, letting you know that I'm the man you need to be. And here's how I'm going to stimulate your mind before I stimulate the body. And letting you know that he ain't on my level. But go ahead and find that on your own. But I'm going, So I got to give that man props for that song. And, oh my God, the music and the way, the way he's flowing on the song, the voice, and the way he's just having so much fun and being teasing and flirting with it. It was just brilliant. So I got to give, what's his name? Is it John Welton? That was his
Joshua
name?
Welton.
Joshua.
Yeah.
I got to give him props. I don't know if he found it or Prince found it, but they put out a really great song there.
I was remembering our original interview on that album. You wasn't trying to give him his props, if I'm mistaken.
Hey, sometimes age and maturity, right?
Okay.
There you go.
Because like I said, back then I was like, why is he going with all this 90s stuff? Now it's like, okay, I guess I can appreciate him, being a little retro, which is amazing because, Prince did it. Be like, Prince, what you doing? But then Bruno Mars did it. He's like, oh, he's a fucking genius.
All right, Chris.
Yo, all right. So full disclosure, Aunt Pooh, you probably gonna want to step away from this one because this is one's gonna get emotional for me too.
It better not be Boy Trouble.
No, oh god,
like
no.
a match.
Nah.
Curly fry.
Yo, as far as Hit and Run Phase 1 goes, you could fart on that record. I don't like it. I hate it.
Wow.
I hate
your
it.
hate mail to him.
Yep.
Prince's friend.
And that's the thing. Like Prince's friend and I have talked about that record. He loves it. I'm like, man, you could fart on that record. I do not like it. It stinks. But anyway, wow. Okay. All right, so my pick for the 2010s, again, just reflecting on where he was at this time, we started to see him take his guard down a little bit and open up about stuff that's been going on in his personal life. And we really saw that during the piano and the microphone shows. Like he started really opening up to folks. And my pick is Way Back Home from Artificial Age.
Yo, no. I'm not going in on that. That's one of those, you better have some tissue ready.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I say, like, it gets emotional for me because if you think about the foundation of that record, it's got this little chugging pattern. It's got that. Anytime I hear that, it's a callback to Sex in the Summer because it almost sounds like that ultrasound effect of his son's heartbeat. And for me, on Way Back Home, I believe, like, to me, it sounds like it's his heartbeat seeking its way back home, wanting to go to heaven and reconnect with his son. Like, that's what I get from it. So for it,
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mike. Do not bring this man back on, because good Lord, he just got me to cry again.
Yo, man, like, all right, I'm not even gonna lie, like, I'm fighting back tears as I'm talking about this, because like like that song just hits so hard, because like as he's talking, it's like he's reflecting on everything that he's been through. And you know, he talks about most of the people in this world are born dead, but I was born alive. So he lived several lifetimes in the one lifetime that he was here, and he feels like he's fulfilled his purpose. He's ready to, you know, be in heaven with God, and he wants to reconnect with Amir and all that stuff. So Anesthesia will always be the gold standard for me as far as him confessing his soul on record, but Way Back Home has to be in line for the silver medal for me. It's right there.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, you got me over here with tears in my eyes. You gotta stop doing this. That you break it down like that. Shh. Oh man,
I'm sorry, man. I really am. But yeah, just during that decade, like, he really opened up in a way that none of us had ever been used to seeing. So, and then after reading his memoir, The Beautiful Ones, it's like he was ready to open up and let people in and show, like, hey, like, I get, like, I've built all this mystique over the past few decades, but you know, I'm a flesh and blood human being just like you. I've had my shares of peaks and valleys, and you know, and kind of going into what Big Sexy had said earlier, is that he was a teacher. He wanted to invest in the younger generation, into the Joshua Weltons, the Third Eye Girls, the Janelle Monáes, Leanne LaHavis, Andy Allo, Mono Neon, and just countless people that he has influenced over the years. So like to see him take his guard down like that, it almost feels like he kind of knew like his final days were coming, you know, and it just rocks me to the core that he was so aware of that, you know. And then with Artificial Age as an album, to me, like, that deserves to be mentioned with his classics. Like, it's such a phenomenal record.
That's incredible. I get this album, the hit and run albums, they all sort of flow together in my mind. Just I have to really start looking at them or listening to them as separate sort of things, because when I think of Artificial Age, I see myself thinking of some of these other songs that are not on that album, but and that was an album he had sort of sat out for, in terms of releasing albums. He hadn't released an album for quite a while, like a couple years, right?
Yeah, it was like a 4-year gap. Yeah,
which was odd in itself. Yeah, man. So this is Prince. So this decade we had Way Back Home, Sticky Like Glue, and I'm sorry, Big Sexy. What song did you pick again?
White Caps.
White Caps, and then Ant, you had
You Know. It's amazing they all around the same era too.
Yeah.
So with this said, we have our picks, and you know, I think it'd be interesting if you make take all of this and make a playlist of this, right, and see how that sounds to you. But as we wrap this up, I want to just go to everybody and get their opinion. And you know, this could either go super long or whatever, but of these eras that we just had, not asking you what's necessarily better. Which decade resonates more with you? So you need time to think about that, or are you ready to answer? Otherwise, I can kind of go.
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. Well, Ampu, go ahead.
Which one resonates with me is the 90s because I feel like, and yeah, don't get in your feelings on this. I'm talking not just the people on the panel, but the Prince Army, the Purple Army. I feel like it's a lost decade. You know, we were so we were so consumed by Slave, the fight with Warner Brothers, the changing of his name, that we let that define Prince. And then you realize, almost the next decade, that goddamn, he was putting out some great music, stuff that I was overlooking because I was going towards hip hop. So when the Symbol album came out, I didn't pay attention to that. I wasn't, and I'll keep saying I wasn't mature enough to appreciate the music there. The Come album, the Gold Experience that just went by me, except for I Hate You because that got airplay. Crystal Ball, which has so much stuff on there. So I say the 90s because he, in my opinion, said that 80s motherfucker, Purple Rain, that's gone. This ain't no back in the day shit, to quote Cheese. You know, here's the stuff. This is what I'm on now. And on top of that, since I'm away from Warner, who's giving me all this input, who's telling me, oh, we need a single, we need a hot single, oh, we need to be able to connect to this audience or that audience. And just him saying, no, I'm Prince. This is the music I'm putting out. They're gonna come on it and get it, or they not. But I'm gonna get the bag still. And you have a catalog of really great songs, really diverse songs where you get a rocker, you get a funk, you get a pop, you get the rap influence. So I would say the 90s because while he created some great musical compositions in the 80s, and those are classic and timeless, the 90s is where he just experimented and just did some things that you're just like, I can't believe he did that. I wanted to go with Endorphin Machines, but that's more so the music than the actual lyrics. But when you look at that, it's like, that's a great piece of writing. I love you, but I don't trust you anymore. And you're just thinking like, first of all, that everybody thinking that he was talking about Mai Tai. And the fact that he was still able to elicit that type of emotion and response while you had this sideshow with everything he was going on and fighting. Amazing.
All right. Big Sexy and Sack.
You know, I got to go with the 90s as well, because there really was time where he showed that he was a consummate musician and performer. You know, there was the whole deal with the label and all that, but he never stopped playing, and he never stopped putting booties in the buildings. Wherever he was playing, that's where the party was. And people can't say that a lot. The only thing I can think of that's like close to that would be like my man Margaritaville, that guy. What's his name? Jimmy Buffett. I don't think Jimmy's released an album in years, but wherever he's always on tour and he's always packing buildings. Prince did the same thing. He's all, look, I'm not doing this, you know, with Warner's. I'm going to go out there and play and let my music speak for me. And he changed styles kind of like Bowie did back in the 70s. He had this jazz thing going on for a minute. He had the rock thing going on. He had the R&B going on, and he did it all effortlessly. And to quote Jimmy Jam, he could still come out, pick up your instrument, and play it better than you can. And that's not something we're going to see again. And I find myself looking at all the imported footage that I've seen over the years. It always goes back to the 90s because it's always a large catalog to choose from. And he has the best musicians, and he's always had the best musicians. But he's got these world-class musicians playing and keeping up with him, which allows him to do even more. And it's just, that was a great time for me. That really defines it for me.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked me because I feel like you're probably going to want to end this episode on a high note. So I'm going to go with the 2010s for a couple of different reasons. One being in 2011, shortly after my 21st birthday, my mom surprised me with tickets to see Prince for the first time live. And this is during the Welcome to America tour. And up until that point, I had only been to Christian concerts, never been to like a mainstream artist concert. So Prince was the first guy for me to do that. And for him to be 53 years old at the time and have the energy of a 20-year-old and rock the house for 3 hours, like from that moment on, I became a huge Prince fan. And, you know, he got me into getting records on vinyl and picking up a bass guitar. Like he was a major, major influence on me after seeing him live. And, you know, again, just seeing just all the stuff that he was doing during this time, even though it compared to everything else that he accomplished in his career, this is one of the more kind of reserved periods of his career. You don't see him as much. So I remember seeing him show up on award shows, and he would get more applause for handing out awards than the artist actually won them. And that made me laugh, you know, because it spoke to it spoke to the legend that he is, but it also spoke a lot about the kind of music that we make now. It's so disposable. You know, you don't have as much timeless music in this period. And oh boy, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, and I hope you guys don't be like, yeah, we're not bringing Chris back to the show after this comment. But when Prince had passed away, rest in peace to Sean Hill, he gave me my first ever platform to write on any website, period. He gave me a chance to just reflect on how much Prince meant to me, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that he even gave me a platform to do that, because he gave me so much confidence to keep going as a writer. And that's why I ended up pursuing albumism.com and, you know, doing stuff with Prince's Friend and continuing to do independent writing on my own. And I'm so appreciative of Sean for doing that. Cause he just reached out to me and said, hey, do you want a platform to kind of, you know, get your thoughts out? I'm like, absolutely. Like that would mean so much, you know? So yeah, man, just for me, it's the 2010s. Cause I was able to experience Prince in real time, you know, like before that I was having to do a lot of homework and being like, okay, well, this is what you did in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. But Artificial Age, the Hit and Run albums, you know, I was able to experience those in real time and get wrapped up in the excitement of a new Prince record. I didn't necessarily have that luxury doing that before, just because of the stuff that I was listening to at the time. So yeah, man, the 2010s for me will always hold a special place in my heart as far as Prince's legacy.
Awesome. Okay. I was going back and forth between either 80s or 90s, but I had to remember the question, what resonated with me? And for me, I'm going to pick the 80s, and I'm going to say this. One, musically, just about every era to me for Prince, the music is all dope. Like it's still Prince to me. Even the stuff where his sound grows and he becomes a better musician and different things, I still hear Prince for the most part. So it's all the same to me. But I say the 80s because, and again, I like what you said, in real time. For me, that was when I was watching Prince in real time, and there was no legend of Prince at this time, right? He didn't have legendary songs per se. It was all just happening, and it was the first time we'd ever seen this. And so to me, it was just like seeing Prince for the first time, not understanding what that was. I was very young. And then when he sort of becomes, you know, a superstar, and and this is in a world where he had to outshine Michael Jackson. You know, if you sort of remember in that time, Michael was almost nothing else. At least that's how it seemed to me as a kid. So anything that could pull you away from one of the greatest of all time had to be absolutely the shit in every way, from the music to the presentation of it, the look. It had to be something you had never seen before. And to me, when Prince when it just was burst to the mainstream, I would say I was honestly more mesmerized by him, like his appearance and the way he moved, and just the whole thing was unseen to me before. I had never experienced anything like that. And I was just like, and to see it was on the big screen. So it's so like, whoa, look at this black guy on the screen. He looks like nobody. I've never seen us like this. Mm-hmm. And the music is, so catchy, and all of this. It was the full package. Like you see Apollonia and Morris Day. I had heard of this guy before, but fuck, they're on the screen and they're so charismatic, and it was a lot. To me, so to me, it blew me away. And then, once I was like, yeah, I'm digging this. And then he just totally flips the script. He had never seen anybody do something like that. I was like, wait a minute. He's not the guy that I saw. He looks totally different, but what is this? This is so fascinating. So that's what resonates to me. Everything was absolutely different each time. And it was pushing things forward. And even if I didn't even understand it at the time, like I didn't really get it, and didn't really appreciate it, just to see it all sort of happen in front of me was fascinating. By the time I got to see another concert of Prince, there was such a large gap. I think I saw him in '84 and then got to see it in '88. But I had seen Sign of the Times at the movies, and at that time you could buy the video and watch it at home. And I watched that over and over. And the brief glimpses of where you saw him on TV performing, he would be drastically different every single time. Mm-hmm. And it would be drastically dope every single time. I was like, how come I can't get it? I couldn't get enough of it, and you couldn't go to the concert. So I was just like, whoa, this guy is great. And, music changed in terms of the musical landscape. Obviously hip hop was so coming strong. But his music went just some whole other area that it was so unlike anything else. And I was just like, this guy's got balls to he not following nobody, and he was having hits. I was like, wow. So to me, it resonated with me more because I had never seen that before. He wasn't a legend at that time. He was building the shit. And so it was just interesting to watch it. And if you didn't understand it, or how it could just totally change so fast, it was just a fascinating time. But I was looking at my playlist that I listened to, but I say I wrestled between the 90s because when I look at my playlist, it actually is more dominated by 90s Prince material.
Wow.
Than anything else. Because I felt like his music was always the same, but I just think there was much more released during that period. And I find myself, there was a lot more work that he released in that period that I could listen to, as opposed to just these albums every year. He was coming with a plethora of material. And lastly, I will say too, the other part why the 80s is very interesting to me is because I still play to this day. The Madhouse Project, just shit like that, it just fascinates me. I was like, how does this guy have time to do this? And it's dope. And it's not like it's some bullshit. It doesn't sound whack, at least not to me. It sounds incredible. Like that first Madhouse album is a masterpiece to me, in context that I know is Prince doing it. And I was like, how is he able to do this? I know he writes songs for other people, but how is he able to do this shit? And this shit is bomb. Like, it just boggles my mind. Like, so it's just so creative. And then I can't wait for this new book by Dwayne to come out. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that cover, I was just like, man, that book is going to be long as fuck, because he just went bananas in the studio during this period. Like, there's so many songs created. I just like, it boggles my mind how he's going to write about it. But so that speaks to me. But like I said, to me, all eras of Prince, decades, it's the same music. Maybe he may be in better recording studios, or there's an advancement in technology in terms of how sonically the shit sounds. But to me, musically, it's the same It's all the same shit in my opinion. All right. Did we get everybody on that?
I think so.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Again, I want to thank Chris, because Chris came up with the idea for this episode. It was a great topic. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much again for allowing me to be part of the episode. I'm sure Aunt Pooh would probably like, yo, don't bring this cat back. So, but yeah, you can find me on Facebook. My name is spelled ChrisLacy. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisLacy90 and Instagram ChrisLacy1990.
All right, Big Sexy and Sack.
I can be found on Facebook under Mark Wiggins, Instagram Mark Wiggins 2, and Twitter WSE Mark.
All right, Mr. Aunt Pooh.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Aunt Pooh.
All right, and you can find me creeping out your mama's bedroom before you get up, nigga. No, I'm just joking. Wow. Wow. I'm that dude. No, I'm just joking.
Nah, I hope you're talking to the 20-year-olds and not the 50-year-olds.
Seriously.
Mama fine too. Anyway. Now you can find me here at podcastjuice.net. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, I suppose, and YouTube, right? But again, we thank you guys for your support. Also, please, you can become a Patreon. We have a Patreon page, and we do other shows on there as well, Prince-related stuff. But definitely check us out. I believe it's patreon.com/Prince Podcast or Podcast Juice. The link will be in the description here. Yeah, I'm old.
Y'all gonna find it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll put the link in there. But appreciate you listening. Listen, work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Just couldn't live it loud. Cause it's a grown man hustle, baby. And I ain't playing around. So put your money up first and we'll see who's down. I got a homeboy, said have a key. Unless it's on a chain, partner, it ain't for me. Cause you can be the boss if you want the Don Cali. I hope you got an exit plan and come better rally. Had 2 years of balling while you're moving dope. And now you're 30 years straight with that soap on the road. Cause I just couldn't live it loud, man, I'm cool. Cause I just couldn't live it loud.